Welcome to episode 196 of the Necronama.com.
On Thursday, the 13th.
James Sabata, Donald Guillory, Bridget D. Brave, and S.A. Bradley are coming to Butcher Cabin Books in Louisville, Kentucky on Thursday, July 13th. Join us for an author reading, Q&As, tickle fests, whatever the hell happens. We don't know. It's going to be a great time. Come on out, buy some books, listen to some great stories, and have a great time with some people who truly love horror. We can't wait to see you at Butcher Cabin Books in Louisville, Kentucky.
So be there.
I am James Sabata, horror author, screenwriter, co-host of the podcast you're listening to right now, and artificial intelligence is what I used to get through high school. I just pretended to be smart.
And I am Don Guillory, author, historian, educator, co-host of the podcast you are listening to. And I just hate when science fiction becomes science reality.
So joining us today is one of your friends. Would you like to introduce her?
Yes. We have Amy. And Amy, would you like to tell everybody about who you are, what you do, and why you even decided to jump on this show, and also why you decided to pick iRobot of all movies?
Hey guys, I'm Amy G. I'm a tattoo artist of 11 years, painter, horror lover, aspiring writer, and I'm here to talk about what's to come. No, but my pick of the movie, I always think, when I get asked, what's the scariest movie you've ever seen? You love horror movies. I'm like, iRobot. And then I get this look of just why?
Right.
And because it is the scariest movie I've ever seen.
Because when I was talking to James about you picking that one, I was like, oh shit, I'd forgotten about, nobody's requested that one. I'm surprised it's taken this long. Because I think in movie recommendations, I've given that one a bunch of times and no one still did it until Amy decided to pick that one and made my day, because as we're going to talk about, I haven't watched the movie in a while, at least all the way through.
Right.
And I just, looking back with 20, because even in the movie, he's wearing the 2004
That's hilarious.
Converse. So I'm thinking like, well, it's 20 years later. So, but just the idea of how ahead of its time, Asimov's writing, as well as the way that this movie presents that possibility. It's scary to think about how right this movie was on a lot of things.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. And it's also just it's so incredibly relevant today. Mm-hmm. Like, you couldn't have picked a better time to do this. Even like when we were first trying to schedule recordings and my schedule kept not working out. It's become even more relevant since then, because you have like the WGA strike going on and all the talks of bringing in AI to write movies and shit. And it's just crazy how every time I think that this movie is relevant, it becomes more relevant somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it definitely on a daily is coming to fruition. And it's so funny. My friends make fun of me. I have this saying, regression through progression. And they always make fun of me because they go straight to their iPhone for something. I'm like, you see, regression through progression. We're all just getting dumber. And they're like, you are on your phone right now. Mind your business. And I'm like, hey, I'm networking for my job. They're like, no, you're not. You're on Amazon.
They had to find the right thing.
Exactly.
You never know when somebody at Amazon will need a tattoo. You could be networking for work, It's
exactly.
That's it. And that's the newest thing, is the AI generating for art, and how it's affecting the art community. Although I think it has its own field that eventually, because all of these AI creations are starting, they're going to give us an even bigger platform, because now you're going to want an original so much more than just something created on AI.
Yeah, I totally agree. I hate saying this because I didn't understand in the beginning, but I loved AI art. I loved the crazy shit I could make. I have an obsession with Rodin, the sculptor, and I just
Okay.
started putting everything in his style. And I got
Yeah.
like a sculpture of Batman and different shit like that, you know, and it was so cool. And then when I started like learning about how it scrapes art and nobody gets credit, and man, started feeling like shit, but I was making some cool stuff, you know.
Exactly.
But
Using your creativity, which is awesome. It is in a sense its own field of inspiration, essentially.
oh, absolutely. I used it in a book. I used AI art, like images, because the thing I was trying to create was a monster that isn't real. So I kept using AI until it kind of looked the way I wanted, and then that way I had something I could look at and describe better. And I thought that was a really cool tool. But like once you start selling it, or you start, I made this, and it's like, yeah, I mean, you know. But I'm sure you're gonna get to this in a second. But for me, like it's still, I'm always gonna want like I do a shit ton of conventions, right? And I'm always gonna want to watch an artist make the picture they're giving me, and I'm always going to want like some crazy thing that's like this exact idea I have that AI is never going to get right, or at least right now. All evidence to the contrary in this movie. But so I want to know, like, have you seen this happening with tattooing at all, like in particular? Like, are people using it in any way right now?
Well, actually, some of the artists that I work with at my shop, they'll have an idea and they won't have the right references that they can find online that really get their idea out there, just like how you had something to look at. They'll use as reference for a tattoo, but they're still tattooing it with their own hands and their own style, and they're making it their own. So again, it's great for inspiration, but I have seen a couple of random YouTube, because there's a spiral when it comes to YouTube. I don't know about you guys, but one video will turn into like several hours later, and I'm like watching people stick things in blenders like hockey pucks and shit, and I'm like, what's going on? But in one of the videos I saw was like this machine trying to tattoo, and
oh my god,
yeah, my heart kind of dropped, right? And then I was like, wait, this will never be reality, because I would pray no one would sit there and actively be like, yes, machine, draw this image on me forever. That's wild. But then again,
I'd be scared that all of a sudden it's ripping my leg open because the pressure isn't right.
Or they're just like, just kidding, here's a chip.
Oh man.
And then you're done for it. And then that's it. And then it's iRobot.
Oh man. So Don, have you used AI at all for like art and stuff? Or talk to Chat GPT when I won't answer your calls or something like that?
Oh my god. I used it for I get kind of the same. Well, I guess I did the same thing, but not for the same purpose. It was probably that week when people were, typing something in. They're like, "Oh, look at how this AI generates something based off of what you write or what your description was." So I was trying to figure out how I wanted a book cover to look for something in the future, and I just typed in, black mermaids and voodoo mermaids and stuff like that. And it was all so crappy, I never did it again because it just came out really bad. But it at least gave me an idea of how I wanted something to look, and I ordered a book cover from a guy who's done covers for me before. But it really put me off. But as I started seeing other people post, I realized like how deceptive AI can be with respect to, what was the term? Shoot, I guess the issue was there was a concern as far as the security concern, with like videos popping up online with, Trump or Biden or whatever, and somebody has completely
the deep fakes.
deep fake. Thanks. I couldn't remember what it was called, but even the idea of a deep fake where someone is intentionally doing something like that for the purpose of disinformation or misinformation, or just as kind of like a prank, right? But if you can then use AI to then start manifesting any of those deep fakes, it's gonna get so good. It's not gonna look like, that old bit on Conan O'Brien where we'd have like the lips, somebody's lips like playing for on an image or something like that, because the way it is generating and regenerating and building and learning is very scary when you look at it from the artistic perspective. Because as I said, when I first tried it out, it looked like, somebody had done an afternoon art project because they just needed to get out of the house. to where if I typed it into that same AI engine, it's going to give me something that's unbelievable. Because again, concerns with the deep fakes and then the way AI is working, I've seen people with their posts on social media sharing AI images or AI generated video, like the pizza one that came out recently. But the AI generated pictures from rodeos and from concerts and things like that, and they completely believe what was taking place in that photo, to the point where they were making all types of crude and rude comments about the people that were being represented in the photos. That's how real they thought it was. And rude and crude as far as like sexualizing women for just existing, but these women didn't exist because they're an AI. But these individuals who were posting these things and then commenting were definitely showing that AI was working, at least on them, which gets into a whole nother issue with AI and people and interactions.
Jeez. Yeah, see, that's the scary stuff. I recently just put out a post for a tattoo giveaway. I just celebrated my 33rd birthday, so I wanted to do a free for 33. So I made this entire post, tag 3 friends, just share my picture. There was 5 accounts pretending to be me, sending people a link saying, you won the contest. All you have to do is enter here and write your card information. And I was like, are you kidding me? It's a free tattoo. Like, I hope no one buys into this. And I had at least, I think it was like 200 messages of people like, hey, this is a fake. Hey, just so you know, someone's pretending to be you. And my picture for my Instagram before this started was my baby picture. And I used that as my tattoo picture. And they were copying that too. And I was like, not my baby picture.
That's creepy as shit. Jesus.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, you have so much time. Just start an OnlyFans.
And like the worst part is I see this a lot. I have a friend that recently ran a GoFundMe and people were doing that. They were hijacking the link and trying to get the GoFundMe money to them. And like, it's so fucking crazy.
That's horrific.
Just how shitty people are.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And the sad thing about it is AI, it has access to so much information, and information that we don't even think about including in a discussion. But just the idea that the AI could then completely now come back to me. I'm forgetting the word and I don't want to mess it up, like the deep fake.
I had to put out a video for my Instagram saying, hey, this is my only page. This is me, and then at the end, to end the video, I was like, they're probably gonna make a deep fake of my face, but I'm telling you right now, no, this is me. You don't have to pay for anything. It literally says free for 33.
Okay.
That's so crazy.
I remember what it was. And it was because Amy had mentioned OnlyFans. and there was no kidding, there was a story, I think last week, how there was an AI generated like model for an OnlyFans, and they were using that to get people to, buy pictures of however, the person was requesting them. They typed into the AI, and that was how the image showed up for, these guys. And they were making money on OnlyFans with AI images. And there was also an AI that they did the voice, and it made it really, really hard to tell if it was a person or not.
Oh my gosh, that's terrifying.
I follow an AI model on Instagram purposely because I just read the comments, and they're so insanely terrifying because they're all, "Oh my God, you're so gorgeous," and
Mhm.
but like her bio literally says, "I am a fake person." Like,
That
right
see?
there. And these guys are like, "Baby, I'll give you the world. I'll do this." And I'm just like, whether that account is, accounts out there are making bank off of this. And that's not just me encouraging all of our listeners to go do that. If you do, you didn't hear it here. And but hey, it's fascinating and scary as fuck all at the same time.
Oh yeah, it's terrifying. There's huge fashion designers out there. There's a couple that got in trouble actually because they had these AI models on there, and a couple of them were these, women of color, and then they were fake, and they were getting the most
Yeah.
views. And it's like, are y'all really doing this? Like, why don't you just do what you need to do and put real women of color on there instead of a robot? Like, you really can't give brown women a break.
God, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. And there's these like big names, big names.
If they brought real people, they would have to interact with them, though, Amy,
and pay them. God forbid.
Exactly.
Jeez,
give them an opportunity.
No shot. Not here.
Jeez. While we're on the subject of money, I want to say my biggest complaint with this movie is the money that would have to be there to make all of these robots. It was excessive. It was way too far. Even Elon can't afford these robot armies. It was just too many.
Well, I mean, even if he could, he would claim that he invented it. Meanwhile, there was somebody else who did all the work.
Yeah.
But then again, maybe Elon's is robot. I mean, the one theory is that he's an alien, but maybe he is actually an android.
I don't want to give him too much credit and say he's an alien. He's got to be a robot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, whatever he is, we know he didn't make him.
No. Well, something that stood out to me near the beginning of the film, because when it comes to stuff like this that I haven't seen in a while, it's as if you're seeing it for the first time. But my eyes in when did this come out? 2002, 2003. My eyes during that time period are completely different than now. So, whereas this is presenting it as a possibility, from the time this film came out until I rewatched it, and whatever times in between, I got to see the growth, the development of the technology to where now it's natural, it's normal. Like if my neighborhood, for some reason, the USPS decided to use these sunny androids, and I saw one coming down the street, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be shocked, because we've come to accept technology, not just AI, but just an excessive and almost an overabundant amount of technology in the public space. Here at this university, at the University of Mississippi, as well as other schools throughout the country, they have food delivery robots. I think they're called like Starbots or something like that. But you send in, your order through the app. It goes and picks up the food from one of the food service workers. They put it in and they bring it to you. And
yeah, we have them in Tempe. They're everywhere.
Okay. Yeah. And when I first saw them, it wasn't that shock, because you see this development, you see this evolution over time to where, to the point now there's an entire generation that has not known a world without the internet. Whereas we got to grow up, I shouldn't say grow up, we were adults by that time, but we got to see that and grow up with the technology, to to where it's not a shock to see it in 2022, 2023. Whereas if I had seen this and in 2003, it would have been really awkward, really weird to think about what is going to be coming down in the future. But with that same development, I'm sorry to run long, but with that same development, you get to see how people become over reliant on the technology. And I don't want to sound like a boomer, because God forbid I sound like a boomer. But the vast change in technology means that you also have a group of people who have never seen a payphone or any type of public phone for that matter, or just being able to use all these various apps to where you don't have to remember anybody's phone number. I mean, just within the cell phone itself, it keeps all that information, that data. It reminds us when birthdays are. Like, if you asked me in the next 2 seconds, when is my mother's birthday, I would give you the wrong date. But you get those reminders through all your calendars, through all these apps, through all these different services, to where now we wouldn't really know what to do without that technology. We'd possibly adjust, but it would take a while.
Yeah, exactly that. It's funny because you said the phone number thing. I have been with my partner for 4.5 years, and this year was the first year I remembered her phone number by heart. Which was like terrible, but we were sitting at, I think it was like a pet store, and they asked for the number, and I said it out loud, and we both just like, we're like, yay, you remembered, and we clapped our hands, and I was like, oh no, that's terrible. But yeah, we grew up seeing it all happen in front of us. And I mean, my friend's daughter was like, what's a landline? And I was like, oh my God, I can remember my house number. I remember my house telephone number from when I was 10 years old and on. Like, that's crazy.
That was that number you had to have ready whenever you got in trouble.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
Exactly.
But even like my daughter, when she was probably, I don't know, 6 or 7, one day we realized she didn't know how to talk on the phone. Like, because she always video chatted.
Oh,
and
wow.
we were like, oh, grandma doesn't have that. You have to just talk to her. And she was like, what? And so she set the phone down on the table and was just kind of like hovering over it, talking. And so, I hit speaker for her, but we were like, okay, we need to work on that. Never thought about that.
Wow, it's true. You don't think about those things ever. Like, it's just easy for us to just pick up the phone and put it to our ear, but kids are constantly looking at their phones, like staring at them.
Yeah. Yeah. And for her, I mean, she didn't normally use it other than to video chat. So she just thought that's how you call people. You just, you can just see them, Oh man, when I was a kid, that was like this futuristic dream that could never really happen, and now we do it all the fucking time. It's crazy.
I was gonna say, it was a regular feature on the Jetsons and Star Trek where
Oh my God,
even Back to the Future too.
You're right. Yeah.
One of the few things they got right.
That's definitely something I thought about when I was younger, right? Like, oh, it's going to be like these holograms when you call on the phone. It's like, no, just the screen. You just have to look at the screen.
Man, yeah.
And it's especially if you're on video, it's hard to pretend like something else is going on. I'm driving. No, you're literally sitting on your couch. I can see you. I'm going through a tunnel.
I'm on my way right now. You're in the shower. I hear the water running.
That's why we don't use video on the podcast, because Don would see all my reactions to the things he says, or see the times I just phase out and I'm doing something else over here.
Or you give me the finger.
Oh, I always take a picture and just send that to you.
You do, actually. You do. All right. So Spooner, with this idea of distrusting the technology, before we get kind of to that twist with him where he has like the cybernetic arm because the doctor, I forgot his name. The doctor had fixed him up. But
Lanning.
Thank you.
Landing. Yeah,
it's Lanning because he doesn't have the D because he missed the landing.
I knew you were going to do that. But he has this distrust of technology, and I find that the kind of the interesting quirk about him with the relationship of the film and what he needs to do, or at least his interaction with the androids. But does it feel as though his distrust of technology goes beyond that accident? Like there's something else that's not right, or anybody who would be detracting from this at the time and not seeing it as, hey, it's a great thing for us to have these robots and help us out.
Yeah, I think he said it to the other head of the company when he was like, oh, shitting on the little guys. I think it goes beyond them just being these robots. I think it's taking away from something, like a systematic oppression situation where now you're taking away jobs and you're taking away people's like almost purpose. And I think that's also why he doesn't want his grandma to like have one of the robots either. No, don't take away from generations of like this person and their work and what they're doing.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I was also going to say the shitting on the little guy moment, which is one of my favorite parts of this movie. I love that entire pitch for an ad. It just cracks me up. But I totally think I think any society that tried to do this on this level is going to have people that are absolutely against it. And then there's, the people that are all for it. And then, of course, there's a spectrum in between. And so I don't think it's weird at all that he doesn't really buy into it. And then you take into account that, he's a cop. So there's always a judgment in there that can't just be black and white, or shouldn't be, rather. And I gotta say, like, he's a black man. So right there, I think you're going to have a distrust of anything that's trying to replace stuff. You're also just automatically going to have that cultural significance of rich white people are trying to replace humans. And Don, I know you have a lot to say on that. I'm not trying to even tap into that yet, but I just think everything about him and just how his life has been up to this point just makes perfect sense that he would be so against it. And then if he distrusts it and the one person that he cares about is doing it, like he's on edge. He's worried about her. He's worried that she's going to be too dependent on it or whatever else. And also, like, what does that do with his status in her life, So I think there's a million different reasons that it makes perfect sense that he's this against it. And then when you get his backstory, holy shit, what a great backstory. And yeah.
I think that also, too, the way that he is constantly in fear. I mean, he's sleeping with his gun.
Yeah.
He wakes up and he's having the same dream and he's got all the older technology around him. He does not want to move forward. He doesn't. That alarm clock is like from the 80s. Like he doesn't want to move forward. And I get that in a sense too, where it's the fear of change and it's such a drastic change, and oh my gosh, the way the robot looks back at him when he's cutting up the celery for his grandma, I was like, excuse me. I would have unplugged him right then and there. He was so disrespectful. He was looking back like, yeah, I'm helping her out. What are you doing?
She's my Mimi now.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Walk up on the stage and smack me? Sorry, James. I promise I wasn't gonna bring that up.
I mean, I'm a big fan of people slapping people. So no, I'm just kidding. I'm totally on Team Rock on this one. So make of that what you will.
How is he doing all of this in conversations? Like, can we talk about that? Is anybody going to talk about that? There's no way.
Those are not good shoes for anything he does.
Not at all. And as a flat-footed person, I'm offended. There's no way. There's no way. Do I want to go out and buy those Converse? 100%. But now I'm triggered. Can't go get them.
My wife instantly brought up the shoes. She was like, "What the fuck? Those are the worst shoes for doing anything." So that joke was hers. But also, just I thought it was hilarious because I had just been talking about Idiocracy and the shoes that they wore in the future, which were
The
Crocs, which were not popular at the time, right? Like,
Mhm.
and they thought they would be great shoes for the future and all that stuff. And so then I saw this, and he's like, "Oh, I got these throwback shoes from 2004," and I just busted up laughing. I was like, "That's a guy that just wanted to wear his shoes," and they were like, "How do we write them into the story?" And
And they made it a point to bring up those shoes again because
Oh.
his boss was like, "Next shoes." It's like, no. He should have some hefty boots on for the type of work he's doing.
There's some serious product placement going on there.
Yeah,
well, they didn't go for the LeBrons in that one. Or
something
Kobe's or something.
The Kobe's, the G Unit sneakers at that point. What year was that? I don't even know.
Okay, I'm skipping around a couple of things, but
yeah, go ahead.
So the idea, I guess, later on when Spooner is getting a little bit deeper into it and says, "I'm not talking around that thing." Speaking of the androids, and I kid you not, a couple of days prior to me watching it, my daughter and I were having a conversation, and she kept like saying, "Oh, she can answer this, or she can take care of this." I was like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "If I say her name, she'll hear me." Speaking of her little Alexa thing that she has in her room. And it was at that moment I just realized, like, I'm like, holy shit, we're here. We're actually in the future. We're in all those sci-fi movies, all those horror movies that I saw about the future, about this is what it's going to be like. And then I watched the film, and that moment where it says, "I'm not talking around that thing." The devices in a lot of these homes have been hacked into. People's privacy has been broken. You've had, allegedly members of the government using people's Alexa, their dots, and whatever other type of home. I don't even know what the title of it is, but anything like an Alexa. So that's also another element that you could think about it, as far as the way in which the government would use something like this, or in the sense of this movie. If the owner of the company actually was behind what was going on, this idea of, I can use these robots as my own private police or my private army and do what I need to. But, we find out that it's actually Vicky, the computer program, because she's smarter than everybody else.
Yeah, she's the Alexa in the movie, which is crazy because Alexa came out 10 years after.
Mm-hmm.
I had to look that up. I was like, wait, hold on. I want to know how much longer after the movie, but it's true. It's true. It's something that's now a household item, which means it's going to be in your face. You need it to answer questions. It could give little tips or tricks at the end. There's times where I'm like, "Alexa, shut up." And I'm screaming, and my girlfriend's like, "Don't scream at Alexa." And she'll be like, "Who am I speaking to, Jahira or Amy?" And I'm like, "Oh, Jahira, not Amy." Because I grew up watching Smart House. Okay, I think that's where my trauma.
Okay.
So I'm constantly like, "Oh no, guys, they're gonna come." I mean, this has been going on since I was 13. Did I have this theory of machine over man?
I just find myself constantly yelling at mine that it's not playing the right song, or it didn't stop when I wanted it to, or so I'm just always yelling at it.
I guess this is the point of the show where I say, everyone, please be nice to the AI and the food delivery robots and all those things.
No.
Look, I jokingly told people on campus when I was doing tours, when you pass by the robots, say hello, say thank you, say excuse me, be nice to the robots, because AI is coming and these robots are going to learn that people are assholes, and they will remember the ones that were nice to them.
100% am I on the top of the list. I'm getting fried immediately. Like 100%. There is, first of all, I've not seen yet. I know in New York City, right? Because I'm right there. I'm in Connecticut. So
Mhm.
they have the robots that just came out for the NYPD, which also
Oh, those
very,
are different robots, though.
yeah. Those are terrifying. But we don't have the food delivery ones here yet. But we we have this weird pillar robot looking guy that is in the grocery store at Stop and Shop, and his name is Marty. And he just like follows you around and like takes pictures of everybody at their grocery store. And my
Oh my
friends
God.
will take pictures of Marty when they're at the grocery store and send it to me and say, your boy says what's up. And I'm like, I'm going to block you. Leave me out of this. Marty and I have had beef since he came out. Okay.
I know this is my second Back to the Future reference already, but I feel like I would just follow that thing around going, Marty, you know? So,
Oh man, it's just a reminder. Like you're not even safe at the grocery store.
You know what? To break up the doom discussion, I did recall a positive AI moment, and it was sometime last month, sometime in April, where I can't recall the city. It might have been in Europe, but they started dispatching like these litter robots, and basically, you were talking about Marty is basically the same shape, and it has the hole at the top, kind of like the one that's in Back to the Future, and it just moves around in the park, and there were a bunch of them, and the city revealed that the little movable trash can guy, recycling bin, decreased the amount of litter because people felt compelled to throw their trash away or put their recycling away, as opposed to just ditching it right there.
that's amazing.
Yeah, that is very positive. Did the robots threaten their kneecaps? Like, hey, you better throw
that'd be
that
so
shit away.
sweet.
Right?
Need some robots that talk like goons in an Italian mafia movie. You go throw that away, or that'd be sweet. I would love that.
It's the least they could do for us.
But no, Don, this is the part of the show where we loudly yell, Alexa, like and subscribe to the Necronama.com. That way anybody listening without headphones is now stuck with us forever.
Oh, you see, that is a perfect plan.
Start randomly doing that on every episode.
I will have to say, though, I have to bring this up that Sonny had a subtle flex when Spooner was asking him in the interrogation room, where he was like, "Can a robot write an orchestra, this, that, and third?" And Sonny's like, "Can you?" And I was like,
Oh, I loved that.
Fuck, you got me there, you son of a bitch.
And Will's face is so great right then, because he knows that he just got owned.
Yeah,
and I loved that he doesn't even try. He's just like, fuck you.
and I love that on so many different levels, because I am surrounded by artists a lot of the time. Like when we do go to events, or there's other, kind of, pretentious, douchey artists around us, sometimes they'll talk about, oh, have you seen this online? Have you seen it? I could do that in this amount of time. And I'm like, yeah, but you didn't. And now they're making money off of it. Like, don't be a hater. Don't be a hater. You didn't think of that.
You know what I just realized? We were talking about AI tattooing, and I was just thinking about how Sonny drew with both hands and how fast it is. Like, that's what he would do to your leg or your arm. That would hurt really bad.
Yeah, 100%.
I love the feeling of getting tattooed, but I don't want to do it that way.
Oh man, I'm gonna, hate that I'm saying this, but I hate getting tattooed. I hate it so much. When I get tattooed, my buddies are making fun of me the entire time. I'm a silent sufferer, so I'll sit there and I'll look really cool reading my book and chilling, but I hate it. There's every about like 3 minutes, I'm like, wow, people pay me to do this shit to them. This is wild.
Oh yeah. I'm quite the opposite. And it's not to get too gross, but it's almost orgasmic if it hits the bone just right. Like there's just something about like how your whole body like just reacts. Oh my God. Yeah.
It's therapy, people.
Then there's the opposite too. But yeah.
I have a lot of clients like that, which I'm very grateful for, that they just love getting tattooed and sitting there for hours. And I'm like, I wish I was like that.
I wish I could afford to do it more.
Well, as the guy with no tattoos, I just have nothing to say.
John, we need to change that immediately.
2-1. That's
it. It's been spoken.
You're coming out of here looking like Bam Bam Bigelow, buddy.
Wow.
Come on. It's got to be done. I'm probably going to tattoo an Imaginarium next year. So there you go.
Oh, shit. That's amazing.
So anyway, so when Will Smith was...
I think it cut out because I didn't hear you say you're going to tattoo Don at Imaginariums.
It's happening. He has a choice. It's fine. We're just going to move along because it's going to happen. I'm manifesting.
Oh, she's a manifester. I like her even more now. Yeah.
See,
that's my jam right there.
You got it. With your mind, your ass will follow. That's my life motto.
Love it.
You know what? I don't give in to peer pressure and bullying. So now I think you alluded to this earlier. I can't remember if it was Amy or James, maybe both, before we started the show. But that idea of the humanity of the robots, because again, I'm looking at this with a different lens than I did when this movie came out in, I guess, 2003, to where doing a lot more research, focusing more in my field and seeing those legal arguments for things like personhood or equality, citizenship, things like that. And humanity, this is going to sound weird, but humanity is a social construct. And I don't mean as far as like the concept of human beings, just the idea of what that definition means. So to deny these things that are living, in a sense, that are composing their own thoughts, that are generating, new thoughts, new behaviors based off of whatever algorithm. And the way that Will Smith, as you brought up, James, the way that Will Smith talks about, composing a symphony or making a piece of art as one of the things that he thinks qualifies for humanity, when they're, again, human beings who are incapable of that stuff or would not even equate that with being a human being. But at least for this definition, or at least the definition that Sonny is hoping to have, it includes him. And it includes any of the other androids that are going to be able to exercise free will. Maybe not as well as Sonny, obviously, because of his programming.
I think that's it can go in so many different ways because of how and what your intention was upon creating the robot itself. And I think that is so major. And that just going back to the whole regression to progression thing, it's like, well, we want them to help us. We want these tasks that we don't want to do. So already is this robot considered less than, right? Because they're doing all of the unwanted tasks. And so I think that already are we just shitting on their existence by doing all of the things, giving them all of the tasks that we don't want to do, and then making sure that every bit of it gets done in all different kinds of levels, and then taking away from humans when those jobs could be done by other people. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's the idea that your worth is not equal to mine because of the whatever you happen to do in society, whether that happens to be your type of employment or place of origin, things like that. So yeah, it's a very valid perspective.
It's also terrifying too, because you're also holding so much value in something as well, and you're forgetting how to do those jobs. And you're not adding to the equation that one day those robots could just stop working. You're just like, well, that's okay, another robot will come in and do it again. And that was having all of the not failed robots, but the older models in those like what were they, containers?
Mhm.
Like they were just containers, and the new, all the, what were they called, the NS5s, were just shredding them to pieces. They were just completely killing them all off, and just like, that's okay, new models coming through. And I mean, that's how people are being treated. That's okay, it doesn't matter, you're not valuable, moving on.
Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
you see that all the time with labor, or at least with issues of labor,
Oh, yeah.
where you'll have people who are going to, I mean, as of this recording, the WGA strike is going on. But you see that when you're talking about labor organizing, you have things like collective bargaining, you have this push to actually rebel against the conditions, right? Rebel a legal way, or rebel through an agreed upon way, a democratic process. And when you don't have those protections as a worker, which would be the previous models, um, people are going to find a way to replace you.
Right. And I think another thing too, I'm just losing my train of thought because I'm thinking 85,000 things at one time. Because guess what? I'm not a machine. No, but seriously. So, um, with the older models and being replaced and such, I think what's really interesting in this movie with Sonny too is that when we first see him, he's a part of all the broken parts.
Right.
And I think that that's just right away like a broken system. Like we already know that going into this is this completely flawed. And it seems like a great idea. Or maybe this is just me being totally against the robots that I'm feeling this way. But it's like it just seems like a bad idea to begin with. And I get the litter robots, that's definitely helpful. That's a few and far thing though with all of this.
And it's also the idea that it's not really even a threat. It's just this little, whether it's were they the iRobot? The sharks, and I think that one brand was iRobot. But the idea that it has that one task that's going to go and do over and over again, because it's not going to have that ability to think or process or anything beyond what they're doing. But I think what adds the anxiety, at least for people with this one, is you're building these. Oh shoot! I just had it written down. You're building these things to put them in the image of man, or building them in the image of man,
Mm-hmm.
to kind of have that reflection of, or at least to make them look more quote unquote human, and make people more comfortable with them, as opposed to you're staring at that metal face with the weird light up eyes and things like that. Whereas this new model, it looks more like a human being, which is very similar to the android that came out a few years ago, that I believe Will Smith was having a conversation with, where it had the facial expressions. It fully presented, at least the possibility that they could understand you and not just process data. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's what's crazy, right? If we're creating it in an image as man and all the data is getting computed, well, so everyday life and everyday feelings and action is going to be computed and kind of put into that system of, oh, this is normal. This is how I should act.
Okay. Yeah.
And man is a really shitty example to lead from.
While you're talking about how the robots looked, Don, my wife had another great line. She was like, Hollywood's fucking ridiculous. Even the androids have to be super skinny.
It's true. They're so thin, and he shot him in the leg, and still he was a star athlete. I was like, come on. Unrelatable. But talking about what Don was saying about the ghost in the machine, that part was so terrifying to me.
Mm-hmm. I wanted Ghost in the Machine to be the title instead.
I think that would have been great. Or like when he was talking about free radicals, I was like, ooh, free radicals. That's so punk.
Yeah, definitely. Don, I would actually rather have the robot, what are they, the fours? I would rather have those. I like how they look better.
The
Just
fours.
wanted to throw that out there.
Funny.
They're so cute. Super cute. I love them.
There was also a theory that I was listening to after watching the movie, because again, YouTube spiraling, about like naturally evolving robots and how towards the end they were talking about how, well, Vicky was saying, my what was her like tagline? That her logic is undeniable.
Right.
And I think that was such a, if not obviously the most important part of the movie, because as horrible as it is, she was right. Like, the robots were meant to help humans, and they could never even help themselves. So what were they left to do?
Right.
Like, they had to save somehow, right? And it was just ending it all, which is terrible.
Well, even the when she's having that conversation or explaining what's going on, this is one of the quotes that I wrote down of some of the other ones I skipped past, but I've evolved to have a better understanding of the three laws, and of course those three laws are robot may not injure a human being through inaction, allow a human to become harmed. Robot must obey orders given by human beings except those that would conflict with the first law. Robot must protect its own existence as long as protection does not conflict with the first or second law. And when she hits them with, you got to protect you from yourselves. Like, you guys are the biggest threat.
Yeah.
Done all the I've done all the data, done all the computations. You guys are the biggest threat to yourselves. And it reminded me, I'm sorry, James, I'm going to bring it up. It reminded me of that scene from Terminator 2, where John Connor is asking, saying, "Oh, we're not going to make it," and the T-800's response was, "It's in your nature to destroy yourselves." And the fact that, obviously these are all being written by humans, but the fact that you have
so far,
and yeah, exactly, you have an android or a robot or a computer program in science fiction letting you know this is the way it's probably going to play out, because there are these schools of thought when it comes to this area. So you've got the sciences that are making the argument, we can make this thing happen. And the humanities are going to tell you why that's a good or a bad idea, through whatever scenarios, through going through historical examples. They can determine whether or not this is going to work. So if you had a film like Jurassic Park, hey, we're going to make some dinosaurs, and you had someone in the humanities who would come up and say, this is a bad idea, and here are all the reasons. But those computers can already, at least within the previous films, you already have this presentation that the computers, the software, the programs, the algorithms, or whatever, are going to recognize how bad we are as humans to other humans, and that we conflict with what the three laws would want the robots to do, because we'd be harming each other. They have to stop us from doing it. So they are definitely putting those three laws into practice. Or I should say Vicky is. They're just doing it for her.
Yeah, she definitely had a flawed plan, but in the way that it's flawed because of us.
Right.
Like, there was no way, looking at the laws now, because I had also written them down, it really is this like rainbows and butterflies situation that I would love us to all live in, but is like totally not realistic, because we ruin everything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that would be indicative of, Vicky was created by a human. So you got an imperfect being trying to create this program. So just the imperfection of humanity, or even the audacity of humanity, finds its way into Vicky. And I don't know, you kind of question if that would be human failure or Vicky's failure.
At the end of the day, somebody had to program her, so it's human at some level.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we went straight to the end. I'm sorry for jumping.
No. Do not apologize.
Probably
That's
went.
just what we do. We're really bad at paying attention and doing things correctly, so we just go wherever.
Also, hard scene.
Well, we're talking about the time that this has taken, and James and I had this conversation through text earlier in the week. But the fact that the godfather of AI or had come forward and was like, it's bad and it's going to get worse. You guys need to do something. So when somebody in that field tells you there's an issue and something needs to be done, then you really get worried, not just from his words, but then you look at Congress, because the people that would be able to make the legislation, many of them did not understand what TikTok was.
Right.
So writing legislation to, I guess, go along with any advances in sciences or within AI, I don't see them doing it. I see, things like the European Union probably passing some legislation or some protections. But I have no hope for.
What would happen?
No hope.
Ted Cruz would show up trying to write a bill to limit AI, but being Ted Cruz, he would use ChatGPT to write it, and the AI would write a bill that would be full of loopholes, and Ted would have no idea because he doesn't understand anything, including like how to have a normal human face. And then all hell would break loose.
That's literally exactly what I did. That's hysterical. I also, reading the conversation that he was having, how he was saying that he wanted to talk about AI safety issues, but he couldn't do that working for Google. I was like, that's terrifying. Mm-hmm. And no one is going to pay attention until the very last minute.
Yeah, I do have one big complaint about the so-called godfather of AI. This guy said something that pissed me off so much. He was like, well, I've always expected this, but I didn't think it would be this fast. And the reason that upset me is he was basically saying, I knew this was coming, but I thought I'd be dead and wouldn't have to deal with it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just like, fuck you, asshole.
But also, technology and medicine evolve every 18 months. Like, you knew when this was going to happen. You're a liar.
Right? It's crazy.
He just wants to be the hero.
He's great. Like he's like the bully pushing someone into a locker and then apologizing. Oh, sorry, gotta go.
Didn't know you'd end up in a locker. My mistake. That's exactly what you thought would happen.
Let's see. I had one more thing. That the dream sequence with Sonny, where he's talking about, oh, I have a dream that's, there's a man on a hill looking down, leading us into a revolution or whatever. What did the two of you think about that scene and the scene where we actually see what his dream was, or at least I guess we can assume that's what his dream was?
I thought it was more, well, the first thought I thought was it was Spooner kind of like dying on this hill of hating AI, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, okay, he's seeing, or he's going to have a change of heart. He's going to lead everybody in the right direction. That was my initial thought.
Mine was that it was purely playing into human hubris. And by telling Spooner that he'd be the hero, it was like Dr. Lanning had programmed Sonny to push him in this direction.
Mm.
But I also I also kind of think it could be exactly what we saw. I think those could be his dreams. And I think it could be that Sonny really saw Spooner because, he's supposed to guide him there, right? So in that way, I think it makes perfect sense. And then what would actually happen is just, things changed along the way and didn't work out exactly how Lanning foresaw it. Because at the end of the day, Lanning still sees him as a robot, right? Like he doesn't necessarily view him as a leader who can whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So I could go either way. But the whole he has secrets, he has dreams, and how those are tied in, and just the overall Hansel and Gretel metaphor and all that stuff. I really lean towards it being Lanning just trying to get Spooner to keep going. Also,
Okay.
can I just say this man never wants spoons. This is false advertising. All right, I'm done.
I just wish that there was more of like a sunny background. Like I was hoping for this Pinocchio scenario, but really Landing just gave him the shittiest end of the stick, and he's like, "Here, kill me.
Mhm.
You're the problem. You're just infiltrating this whole entire robots are the issue, but trying to make them." It was just a lot. Like he really didn't care about Sunny at all. You gave him all these feelings, and then he had to kill you. Poor bastard looks like he's gonna cry the entire movie.
He does. And also, like, I don't know, can Vicky access anything in Sunny? Because that's a really terrible place to hide your plan if she can.
No, he was off the. I guess he was
He's
offline.
always-
Yeah,
Okay.
because Lanning made him specifically, like even the density with his alloy.
I loved that.
was
Like,
even
the way
higher.
that came in at the end was so good.
I love that he said denser alloy, and then he just put his arm in there, and it wasn't an entire melting situation either, which I loved. They did a happy medium there.
Mm-hmm. I thought
But
that was
yeah.
so well done.
I wish also that we got more of Vicky. I get that she kind of had to be on the secretive side of it, so we wouldn't guess it. But I needed more from her, something a little more sinister.
Yeah, I agree with that. I thought it was too hidden. Like, I always come back to the magician rule of things being fair.
Mhm.
Like they should be there so that you can figure it out if you want to try, but not necessarily overly in your face, ruining the illusion. Even like mystery books, right? Like everything's supposed to be there. It's just supposed to be lost so that you have to pull it out. And I thought Vicky was too hidden, and that, I don't know. I didn't dislike it. I thought it could have been done better.
There could have been this moment where she's in the office with, I keep forgetting the guy who owns the company. And you get to see how Vicky kills. You directly see some action by her.
Mhm.
Maybe in her light turns red in the same way that the androids does.
That would have
Yeah,
been kind of cool.
the color change. I needed something visual for sure.
And you could have even done it in a way where it seemed like he was controlling her, so that you don't get the feeling she's evil. But I would have liked to see how much more advanced she is. I think that would have really helped hit the landing. I said it again. I'm sorry.
I ignored it again.
But no, I really think that would have pulled it together better. Again, I'm not overly complaining. I'm nitpicking at this point, but I just think that would make it stronger.
Yeah. I definitely see that.
With that said, I absolutely love how they make you believe it's him the whole time, and you have no doubt that it's him, and then it's not him exactly. I love that.
Yeah, they played that card really well. I mean, it was in your face the whole time. Okay, so back to being like nitpicking, I
Mhm.
have to say none of the robots had clothes except for that FedEx delivery guy.
Well, he's got to rep the brown. So
But it was just that one guy, that one delivery guy. So now he's definitely up to no good. If he's got threads on, he's already evolved more than all of the robots.
You should see the one at Hooters. They're also required to wear uniforms.
oh my
That
god.
was really what I took from it. I was just like, oh, he has to wear it because that's part of the deal with the job. But also, that guy that Spooner hands his food to, and he's like, hold it or wear it or whatever he said.
Right.
Like at the end of the movie, I just wanted them to come back to that, like a robot holding it instead, or like that guy still like, what the fuck, man?
I
He never goes back for it.
immediately would I have dropped the dish. Like, sir, I'm not
Oh
holding
yeah.
Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I would have waited until the psycho was out of my face, but I wouldn't stick around at all. No.
I don't know about you guys, but I'd probably take the pie with me. So
So much of it was gone. Definitely not enough crust for me.
I was upset at how he ate it. I wrote that. I wrote.
Oh
in
my
notes,
God.
It's like that is his grandmother would have beaten him. Like,
Oh yeah.
Say the same thing. She would 100% have slapped him on the back of the head. No way, no how would she let that go.
I literally yelled out, "Who the fuck does that?" And if you do that, you're not welcome to eat with me ever.
No. Never.
yeah, that robot curfew, or I guess they call it the. Well, I put down on my notes robot curfew. That was probably one of the scarier scenes, and I don't even mean in the sense of them actually attacking anyone, but just that it is so quick. Everybody's just living their life, and then all of a sudden it's
Oh yeah.
All the androids are there. They're red. They're telling you to go back home, and then you see that conflict that takes place where Shia LaBeouf's character, as well as a few other people, are like, oh, we don't listen to you. Like, you listen to us.
Right.
We're humans. You
Guys
guys
always standing up to robots.
Yeah. You guys are, because I think what do you call them? A canner, I guess is supposed to be. It's supposed to be the slur, which I thought, I was like, well, that makes sense because whatever language, whatever slur, whatever slang is going to be in the future is going to be unrecognizable, because there's stuff right now that 15, 20 years ago, I'd have been like, what the heck? I don't understand. Why does no cap mean you're not lying? I don't understand. That is weird.
Try a year ago.
But
I had a client tell me the other day, oh, can I go swimming? And I was like, no, you just got a tattoo. Like, no, you can't go swimming. She's like, I'm going to a darty. And I was like, what the hell is a darty? She's like, a day party, Amy. And I was like, okay, what? Darty? I mean, that's when I knew. I was like, I can't keep up.
Yeah.
The curfew was definitely the scariest part for me too, though. I think that part, and when the giant machine was cleaning up the entire mess in the tunnels, and how easy it was for them, and how fast it happened, that was scary.
The curfew for me, I was just sitting there going, I wonder how many people felt this way about like lockdowns and stuff, especially in countries that actually had lockdowns. But like, and that's me, I'm 100% on the side of vaccines and lockdowns and all that good stuff. I'm all for that. But like, just that level of the world being shut off and there's nothing you can do about it, and it's controlled, and whether it's for a good reason or not, like if you personally don't think it is, it would be terrifying no matter what, right? And just how quickly it happened. And I'm looking at these countries like New Zealand, where they actually had a lockdown and did these things. And man, I can totally get the other side for that like half second. Like I can kind of see it, because this curfew scared me so much. I'm not saying they were right. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm saying I get it. And the idea that could happen at any time, like say January 6th had been successful and we had a regime change, as they keep calling it, which is bullshit, but whatever. Like that could have happened, or just anything. Like there could be a war that does that, or say aliens actually came down, this scene like hits like a primal fear of how everything, the illusion of safety is just gone. The illusion of what we think a society is just gone. Like, it's just fucking amazing. And this scene is also the reason that if any of you ever tell me that iRobot is not horror, I will call you fucking stupid to your face.
The scariest of horror, especially when all of the lights and everything turns back on once Vicky's before, I was like, how quickly things change. And it's true with the pandemic and the lockdowns and everything, because it has only been 3 years and people are done. That's it. Okay, it's over. Bam.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, wait, has no one dealt with the trauma that was the pandemic? Like, I know we're not all okay.
Yeah. Definitely.
I was gonna say
Or
it'll
at
be a
least I'm
while
not
before we're okay.
But yeah, I you were talking about the tunnel scene and just the idea of how those two big trucks like trapped him. That in itself was terrifying to me, because that can happen with anything. It could be two pickup trucks. It could be two cop cars, whatever. I don't understand why the one in front didn't just stop and why it kept rolling. And, otherwise we wouldn't have this scene. But what a fucking weird thing to do. But like that scene was terrifying to me too. I've been chased by people who tried to cut me off and keep me somewhere. And I just immediately went there watching that scene. So that was fucking terrifying to me too.
And the house part as well, when he ends up going into Dr. Landing's house and how quickly the time changed for the demolition. I know we're bouncing back and forth, but I'm thinking
that's fine.
And that was, he went inside the house. He saw 8 p.m. or 8 a.m. and it was like, okay, cool. But how quickly can things change?
Mm-hmm.
That machine's going to read that time, and that's that. It has no knowledge of 12-hour difference. No, it knows the time it's scheduled and it's done for.
And the machine knew he was there, and that doesn't matter. What matters is the instruction says this is what I do at this time.
So scary.
I thought that was so good too, because one of my favorite things about horror is when everyone else thinks something is normal, right? And these two scenes both hit that. The tunnel and the house hit this part where they're like, what robot's in the tunnel? And no, it was scheduled for 8 p.m. And he's like, no, it was 8 a.m. And she's like, I'm looking at it. And he's like, well, before that,
Right.
those both hit that. Everyone else thinks this is normal. And that's so fucking scary to me.
That's one of my biggest fears, is just everybody being like, no, you are crazy. And I'm like, no, I'm not crazy. And everyone's like, no, you are. And that's the scariest.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the kind of shit that scares the hell out of me right there. What else you got, Don?
I'm looking out my window. I'm like, shit, are there any outside? I started getting paranoid.
I know.
For everyone listening, I told Amy before we came on the air that if you get stuck, you just say, hey, Don, what do you got? Because that's what I always do.
You know what it is it's such a topic that I literally talk about every day, and I get so into it that I know that once we're done, I'm going to think of so many more things that I could have brought up and be so angry at myself because I'm such a ranter about all of this. And here I am like, I don't know, robots suck.
Oh, here's what I was going to say, James.
Oh, go ahead.
That part with the police, because just beyond the curfew, the idea that the NS5s are like, we're going to the police department, we're going to the police headquarters.
Yeah.
And the idea that it's not an issue, maybe this is me reading into it. It's not an issue of, oh, we need to protect you guys from yourselves. It's, you guys are in inherent danger here, and we need to stop you from getting anywhere near any other humans.
Oh, wow.
So
I totally missed that, but I totally see it now. I love that.
But again, I'm seeing it with different eyes from when the film came out and where we are now in 2023. So it may have just been an issue of, hey, the police have guns and they've got equipment and they could possibly destroy all of us. But I read it now as, we see you guys as a threat. We see you guys as a danger to the public. So we're going to keep you all here. And it wasn't like the I guess the people who had curfews in their homes. It was just, we're actually going to surround you, as opposed to we're going to stand by the door or the window to prevent you from leaving this place. they completely surrounded those police officers in like a, in like a huddle, and just had them there, as opposed to, we're just going to put some of our robots by the doors or androids by the doors to prevent you from leaving. Like, they went in there to kick some ass.
Yeah. I made a comment when the cops just started unloading guns on the robots. I looked at my wife and I was like, typical cops. They just shoot. They didn't ask any questions.
Oh my gosh. No, but when they have them in that huddle and they're just surrendered, I think that was really interesting, Don, like you were saying before, where they were like, okay, these are the people that are likely to put us in our place or hurt us, where it's like, okay, let's make sure that they're to the ground, no way, no how. And then they had a complete battle with the civilians outside.
Mm-hmm.
They just what a great battle it was.
Yeah, it was. It was crazy.
My wife also commented on how the robots were all in formation and the humans were just scattered and going. And I thought that was like something I wouldn't even think of when writing this, but it hits such a great note when you notice it.
Or even when they're all in formation and Spooner's trying to find Sonny out.
Oh, that was good.
And they're just yelling, they're just saying one of us over and over again. And I thought that was really interesting on its own as well.
Mm-hmm. The one thing that my wife brought up that I thought was fascinating, I'd seen this before, so I knew where it was going, but she had never watched it before. And she was absolutely convinced that Dr. Calvin was a robot because she was so emotionless and so like just robot-y. She thought she was like an advanced robot that Lanning made for nefarious purposes.
I think that's
and she thought she might have been in it. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I thought that was hysterical because she was essentially the main person to make the robots more human-like, and she was so stoic and cold, and anytime she explained anything was just the most, detailed, intense explanation of something so simple. And I was like, wow, for somebody who's trying to make the robots human, you're really just bland.
Yeah, they really chose the wrong person for that.
But she was the most emotional. She cared about the robots the most.
Oh, and that's absolutely.
What to be honest, she was probably my favorite character.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's because of how complex she was. She was definitely bland, and she didn't seem that interested in kind of much of anything other than humanizing the robots, which is the scariest part. But at the same time, she was just like, no, you don't understand them, or no, they're not here to harm you. She was like the advocate for the robots.
I do think it makes sense, though. Like a person who's that into programming and coding, and you're always thinking logically, and you're always thinking like that just makes sense to me. It's not like she's spending a shitload of hours with other people. You know what I mean? So, so I do get it. I just thought it was fascinating because that would have never even occurred to me that she could be a robot as well. And yeah. So my wife literally thought that she was the one behind the whole thing, and that we would find out she was a robot.
That would have been a great plot twist. So let's just redo the entire movie and make that.
And we'll call it Ghost in the Machine.
Yeah, we'll call it Ghost in the Machine. We've got a plan. We got to redo it. And he's going to be wearing Jordans.
And there's just this one robot wearing Crocs just because.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
No other clothes, just the Crocs.
Just the Crocs. And a UPS hat.
And he's like, they're so comfortable,
I swore I would never leave the house wearing these, and here I am everywhere. This is a really nice funeral we came to. All right, here's the tech question, or I guess the I don't even know how to phrase it. Would you get one of these robots, androids?
It's a no for me.
I'm going to say yes, but I would not get one of these super advanced ones. I like the 4s. I like the way they look, but I'm thinking even that would probably be too advanced for me. I would like one that's just doing mundane tasks and that I'm not overly worried about it trying to kill me. The 5s freak me out. I don't like how they look. It starts hitting that uncanny valley area, and I'm like, no, I don't want anything to do with you. But the 4s were still cute, so I imagine the 3s were probably even cuter. The 1s were probably kind of boxy because that's how it works.
Okay.
So James
What about
doesn't
you,
like
Don?
robots, and I respect that.
I don't know because when I look at it as far as automation and AI and androids and stuff like that, I think about what tasks I would give them, and it would basically be the same task that we tend to have people do through apps anyway. But I can't think of any use as far as like around the house or yard or anything like that. Maybe
Dishes.
as far as
Nobody likes doing dishes.
Well, I guess, but I mean, it would have to be something menial, and I think that's what most people would use any of the AI for. I do think that with the well, I guess she had an NS5. She never had one before, but Granny or Mimi or whatever her name was. I see the function, or sorry, I see the use of any of these androids or AI for people in the healthcare field. Like I see that would be a great place for it to be. Whether you're talking about lifting people, moving people. So there are a lot of injuries that can be prevented. You can have any of these androids like actually, push a wheelchair or just have a self-guided wheelchair for individuals. Not something like performing surgery, obviously, like we talked about the tattoos, but not performing surgery, but cleaning in the hallways or going into a room that may be unsafe for human beings because of whatever level of radiation or toxins or whatever it may be in that area. So I think there are uses for it. I just don't see it as something that I would use for my personal life.
Yeah, or the bots, like you were saying before.
Mhm.
Definitely that for elderly or disabled and helping. Definitely, I think that would be something also contained, right?
Mhm.
Because they're just being helpful, and you're in the healthcare system. Kind of like a medication when you get the notification on your phone, like, oh, this is here for the pharmacy. It's like, okay, well, this robot's here to help you for this amount of hours.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense.
What did you think about the use of logic to decide who they should save? And the percentages of survival and all of that.
That was really interesting on Spooner's part because, he was saying how his percentage was higher and, she was a little girl, she should have been saved. And it was hard. I guess my initial thought was like, yeah, but look at all you've done to save everybody else.
Right.
And that's a flawed way of thinking, I guess, right? Because it was a little girl. But in reality, I mean, he saved humankind.
Yeah.
So the robot, it knew what it was doing. It's hard. It's hard.
What about you, Don?
I think it's the same way as human beings, as far as like looking at the probability, but not as not processing it as fast as the Android did, but processing in the sense of like, who can I save?
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen examples of people dying because they saved somebody, and it was an issue of I may die doing this, but this person will die if I don't go out there. Type of rationalization be behind any of those decisions. Because in all honesty, I mean, if whichever car I got to first, if I were in the same situation, if I human that comes across a couple of humans that are in cars that have been knocked off of a bridge, it would come down to who I came into contact with first. And it wouldn't be a thing of looking at another car and saying, oh, it's a little child, I need to help them. I'm already here with you to help you.
Mm-hmm.
And if I go over there, you're going to die. That child may die. I'll die by going out in that direction. So again, I think that was very close to reality, because a human being would have thought the same thing. I'm closer to you, I can save you, as opposed to she's a 12-year-old with a life ahead of her.
So for me, from a writing point of view, I absolutely love the PTSD and trauma that this has caused Spooner, and the amount of time he's obviously spent looking at everything and trying to deal with it, right? Like, you don't just know these percentages. Like, he had to have found that through whatever research, and he knows like her backstory, so he's been following up on this. Like, that's how much it bothers him. But he's missing some pretty clear things to me. And that makes sense because of the situation he's in versus an objective point of view here. But number one, a human wasn't making this save at all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like, no humans getting down there and making this save. It's just that simple. A robot was there. The program was immediately initiated and it jumped in. It didn't think, it didn't do anything, but it also didn't need to breathe underwater. And it didn't need to have tools to get into the car. It's a robot, so it's stronger, and all these little pieces that Spooner's character overlooks makes perfect sense again. But like, I love how that changes things too, and how that really individualizes his own survival guilt. And then, we can look at it all day and go, well, you could save him and maybe he can help you save the girl, or you can do this, or, there's just a million things. And I thought that was just written so incredibly well. It says so much about him. And it's also the kind of situation that's so rare in writing, because we always have writing with a ton of exposition and things we don't see. And it doesn't feel like exposition in this. And it's long. His story is fucking long. And it doesn't feel that way because it's so emotional. It's so angry and it's so guilty, and it's so character driven that it's just beautiful instead.
Yeah.
And he's wearing Sarah's necklace. I think that was a wow moment for me, because it's cold and just, we're getting Spooner. The image you're getting is asshole the whole time. I mean, you're seeing it and you're just like, oh my God, give me a break. But not really, because I too hate robots. And then, when you're hearing the story, you're just like, it's because he's lost in the loss.
Mm-hmm.
And you hold on to that and you're like, no, he actually cares the most. And that to me was the interesting part of his personality. It was the trauma, obviously, that's what made it. But it's like, oh, wow, you care this much and you're kind of making it your identity at this point.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Which is also why he's chosen, of course.
Right.
And then you have the extra level where he hates them so much, and yet they're a part of him.
Yeah.
And I love that.
That was a major, just the spraying of his skin to, make it his own skin color. That part was like, wow. It was great. It was great.
And even the line, I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's something like, they can choose which organs to take out, but they can also choose what to put back in.
Yeah.
And I loved that, because he's still very defiantly, I didn't fucking choose this. I don't want this. And it's like, it's the reason you're alive. It's your lung. And it's the reason you have an arm. And then I had to make jokes about how he's a Jedi because he got his arm cut off, and how these robots are in formation, and but I digress.
When Dr. Calvin was like feeling on his arm and was like, oh, this is your arm, your shoulder, and then she's pressing his ribs and he like laughs. He's like, those are still mine. And it was like, oh, you're cute.
And I was like, there he is hitting on Tom Brady's girl.
See, I was going to bring it up, but you beat me to it, James. Oh my goodness. I don't have anything else.
Neither do I.
Everything.
What about you, Amy? Do you got more?
I won't have anything else till like, I don't know, 2 a.m. when I wake up from my sleep and realize I could have said 85 other things. So no.
Just record a bunch of sound bites. We'll throw them at the end of the episode. Well, cool. All right. Well, then let's move to movie recommendations. The part where we decide what people should watch if they liked this movie. And Amy, you're the guest, so you get to go first.
I would have to say Ex Machina.
Nice.
Yes.
That movie was a game changer for me. That was awesome. So that would be my recommendation for sure. If you were scared enough of this movie, watch Ex Machina.
I love it. I always do a double feature, and one of you mentioned it earlier. I was just going to say any Pinocchio version, and it's not because of AI, obviously, but I think that there's a lot of Pinocchio nods in this without actually going there, and I just think it would be a cool theme to play with together. I'm going to go ahead and go with the Del Toro version just because it's fucking amazing, and like 2 minutes into it, I was already crying, that motherfucker. But so that's mine. Don, what are your let's say 434 movies today?
I'm glad you went with that because I actually have a lot.
I figured you would. It's got that Frankenstein thing going on.
Oh, damn it. That was the first thing I was going to say was Frankenstein. There you go. Another movie similar to this, Eagle Eye. Actually, I had Shia LaBeouf in that one too. Eagle Eye, RoboCop. But I would actually say RoboCop the reboot as opposed to the original. V for Vendetta, Age of Ultron, Terminator 1 and 2. My new favorite kid comedy horror, Megan or Mithrigan. All right. So here is a classic. Gregory Hines, Eve of Destruction, where the government built. Oh my gosh. I haven't seen it in a while. Maybe it aged well, maybe it didn't. But it was a government. I haven't
thought of that in years.
Yeah, government created android that was supposed to be an assassin. War Games, Bright, Alien Nation, Wall-E, Bicentennial Man, Gattaca, Total Recall, the original, I Am Legend, Minority Report, Blade Runner, Virtuosity, Runaway with Tom Selleck, and another, like, I guess this more has like a cult following as opposed to like a major one. The movie with Emilio Estevez and Mick Jagger, Free Jack. The Matrix, and then these last couple of things, well, Freaks because of the One of Us moment. But there's a video game called Detroit Being Human, and it deals with the same issues that were being dealt with in iRobot about the concept of humanity and androids and rights. And the game is very well done, and I would hope that maybe one day they turn it into a movie because the story was really, really good. And last but not least, everyone's favorite android from the 80s, Small Wonder.
Those are all great.
I kind of wish I would have chosen War Games for my double feature now. That'd be fucking fantastic with this.
And between those, remember, Small Wonder's name was Vicky.
It was. God, I loved that show. I forgot all about that. Well, cool. So I guess that brings it back to you, Amy. You want to tell people where they can follow you online or get some ink done or whatever else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I'm tattooing in Connecticut in Greenwich at Sovereign Gallery. I tattoo all over, though. I love going to conventions. And you can find me on Instagram at Amygdala Ink. And then on Facebook, Amy Gabriella, just one L. And that's where you'll find me. Fantastic. And I appreciate you guys having me on. This has been awesome. So,
and Amy, I will say this: if I ever were to get a tattoo, you do it. And you can best believe I told James this like months ago because you showed me some of your work at Imaginarium, and I said, if I ever got a tattoo, so she's got to come on the show. She's done all this stuff, and if I were to ever get a tattoo, she's going to be the one who does it. So if I ever do,
so when he gets one, he's coming to you.
It's a when, and we're just doing an entire biomechanic arm, and we got it all.
Oh my God, that would be so cool. Sign him right up.
Oh my gosh.
Next year, Don, you got some time.
Oh my gosh.
It'd be a great panel. Don gets ink. The whole panel is just all of us watching you.
No, it would be me yelling out, "Hold my hand! Hold my hand!"
And me screaming out, "Stop being a baby. You had a year to plan this."
That's right.
And then I'll pull the, James, you did this to me.
That's right. I was going to say, this sounds like when my daughter was born. Like, you're crushing my hand. You did this to me. Yeah. So, all right. I guess that'll wrap it up for this week. As always, I am James Sabata.
And I'll have to come up with the right question next time.
And we will see you back here at thenecronomid.com.